Hello, Miss Bell's Algebra 2 class. I'm looking at this practice with complex numbers assignment. Today is May 3rd, and it says to do circle problems only. I'm going to take you through half of those. I'm going to start with number 1. We have the square root of negative 49. So if we take the square root of negative 49, we could bust that up into 49 times negative 1. That negative 1, the square root of negative 1, it ends up being I. The square root of 49 is 7. So we end up with 7I. I just wanted to show you how I came up with that 7I answer. For number 3, we have the square root of 7. Well, how did I come up with I square root of 7? Or square root of 7I, however you want to put it down. We can bust up the negative 7 into 7 times negative 1. Square root of negative 1 is I, so I can bring that out from underneath the square root bracket, and then the square root of 7 is still in there because that is not going to be a perfect square. So it's going to be I square root of 7. Number 5, we have the square root of 8. We could bust that up into 4 times negative 2. So square root of 4, we can bring out a 2 from underneath that bracket because square root of 4 is 2. And then I still have that negative 2 in there. That's a little annoying. So I could bust that up into 2 times negative 1. Square root of negative 1 is I, so I could bring an I out, and then I have square root of 2. So it would be 2I square root of 2. All right, taking a look at number 11, here we are simplifying these expressions. So number 11's expression is right here. I'm just adding these. Notice a negative 6 plus a 6 is going to be 0, and plus 7i minus a 7i is going to be 0, so we just have 0 there. For number 13, we have this minus this amount here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take, because it's minus, this minus is going to distribute into these parentheses. So I'm going to have minus a negative, so that makes a plus 8, minus a positive makes it just minus. So I'm just going to take negative 5 plus 8, and that gives me a positive 3. Then I have a 3i minus 2i, that's going to be just 1i, so 3 plus i. Number 14, I'm skipping number 15. I'm multiplying now, so I do the FOIL method, first times first. Outside, multiply those. 2 times 6i is 12i. Inside, multiply those. A negative I times a negative 3 gives me a positive 3i. And then the last, I'm going to have a negative I times a positive 6i, and that is going to give me a negative 6i squared. Well, here I end up with just combining everything, a negative 6i squared plus 15i minus 6. I could simplify this by dividing all the terms by 3, so I get negative 2i squared plus 5i minus 2. That I squared becomes negative 1. And so negative 2 times negative 1 gives me positive 2. 2 minus 2 is 0, so I'm just left with the 5i. That's why I end up with 5i for number 15. You may have ended up with 15i, because this 6, negative 6, if you did not, make that, divide each term by 3, I think, you would have ended up with, so maybe that's why you end up with a 15i, because this would be negative 6i squared would be a positive 6, and you have a negative 6, and you'd just be left with 15i. So that's definitely, something that you might want to look at. For 15, I'm going to go down to number 24. 24, I'm multiplying this. So when I multiply this, I end up getting 31. It's 31. 3i times 2 is 6i, and then I have 3i times 2i is going to be 6i squared. So I just rearranged it. I have the I squared first, and then 6 times the negative 1, because I squared is negative 1. Don't mind this, I was starting to write something and I did not like it. So 6 times negative 1 is a negative 6, and I still have this plus 6i back here. Number 39, and you might be able to, simplify that by, dividing by 6, both those terms. But, that might be as far as you want to go with that one. Number 39. For number 39, we are utilizing the quadratic formula. We just have to pick out our terms. Here is A, B, and C. And so I identify my A, B, and C. I plug it into the quadratic equation, and I work it out to where I get, and you could pause that. I'm not going to take through every step, but this is kind of ugly here. The square root of 2 squared minus 4. Here's my A, here's my C. 2 times my A. Okay. It ends up being this square root of negative 36. That's plus or minus 6i. So it's either when I divide everything by 2, it's either 1 plus negative 3i or 1 minus a negative 3i, or you could just think of it as 1 minus 3i or 1 plus 3i. And then number 41. 41, here's my A, here's my B, here's my C. I plug it into the quadratic formula. Ends up being where I get it down to square root of negative 12. I could pull out a 4, so I could pull out a 2, and I could pull out an I also so that it's not negative anymore. And so these, if I divide everything by 2, this is going to be, and this 2 would go away too, so you just have I. Sorry about that. So this 2 would go, if I divide everything by 2, you'd have 3/4, or 3 plus I square root of 3 over 4, and a 3 plus I square root of 3 over 4. Because I just simplified, I divided everything by 2. All right. Good luck with the rest, and hopefully this was helpful.